Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Hide and Seek, a Korean thriller from 2013. Now our main character is a successful businessman who lives with his wife and two young children. One day, he receives a phone call that his estranged brother is missing, so he goes to his brother's apartment for the first time in decades to look for him just to make sure he's alright. And there he finds strange symbols inscribed near the apartment doors, and he soon discovers that other residents of this complex have also gone missing. Well, something's up. Something's going on. Now, I remember when this movie first came out, everyone was saying how great it was. One of the best Korean thrillers in years. So going into it, I was kind of expecting a lot. Unfortunately, it did not live up to its online hype. Not for me. Over the years, I think the ratings have kind of dipped quite a bit for this, which I think is kind of justified. However, is it still entertaining enough to earn a recommendation despite its flaws? Let's find out. Let's get some of the criticisms out of the way, alright? First of all, the protagonists make a number of bonehead moves, and there are a bunch of contrived or artificial moments that feel kind of unnatural. Now you may say, Erik, this is how it is in most thriller movies. If thrillers were realistic, they'd be over in 15 minutes. And to that I would say, yes, you are correct. However, filmmakers need to ride the line between total realism and incomprehensible stupidity. It's got to be somewhere between the two, right? In the middle somewhere. Hide and Seek veers into incomprehensible stupidity on multiple occasions, and that does hurt the movie. Now, for example, let me just describe to you the opening scene. It's the opening scene, it's not a spoiler. And you can just come to the determination if this is going to really infuriate you or not. So, we set up the opening scene nicely, got a girl who's being, stalked by someone. And she has an idea of who it is. You know, it's one of her apartment neighbors, right? And she gets pissed at this guy. You know, she starts banging on the dude's apartment door, tells him that she's calling the cops. It's like, all right, this girl's got some moxie. I like it. She goes back home, right? A few minutes later, someone bangs on her apartment door. You know, she looks through the peephole, doesn't see who it is. She just opens the door without having any idea if somebody's out there. Maybe the guy who she just confronted is coming after her. Let me just open my door. Okay. Then she sees someone, like a shadow, near the stairs in the apartment complex, near the stairwell, and, decides to take out a can of mace from her purse or whatever and pursue the person. Instead of just, walking back into her apartment and calling the cops like she said she was going to do 2 minutes ago. And on top of that, she leaves her apartment door wide open while she's investigating the stairwell. So, at this point, I'm just sitting there is this movie going to be this stupid the entire time? I mean, if it's a schlocky, slasher movie, you could just laugh at it, but this movie's kind of taking itself seriously, right? So yeah, that opening scene, it was kind of fun to watch, I guess, but kind of frustrating at the same time. So after that, the whole middle of the film does a pretty good job of kind of avoiding a lot of moments like that. A few questionable things happen. Not bad enough to distract the viewer. So I thought, okay, that opening scene is so dumb, but it was just a one-time blunder by the filmmakers, right? No. The final 40 minutes is just loaded with dumb decisions and contrived moments. I'm going to avoid spoilers, so I'm not going to go into details, but the decision-making is really bad by the characters, and I have to say this. The mother of the children in this film, one of the worst mothers in motion picture history. If you're a mother or a father, you're a parent, and you have two little kids, do you just leave them by themselves every time you go out of the house? If you go to, a store, do you just, leave them outside the store? Be like, okay, I'll be back in 10 minutes. She does this, multiple times in the movie, even after they find out that there's this, crazy stalker around there that could be targeting them. And I just kept shaking my head at that one. That was just bad. Really bad. And the villain, we're used to seeing in slasher movies how the villain's a efficient killer, and then when you get to the final, protagonist, the killer all of a sudden becomes a blundering idiot, just so the protagonist can get the upper hand and beat them, right? I mean, it's basically the premise for every Friday the 13th movie, right? But in this one, it's like the killer is so efficient. And then at one point, I'm not going to tell you who it is, just randomly leaves a person alive. I'll just randomly leave this one person alive, even though I've slaughtered like everyone else. And you're just sitting there watching this movie like, why? You know what I mean? And then the final thing I'm going to complain about, well, maybe not the final thing, but one of the other things I'll complain about is the reveal of the killer's identity is set up actually really nice. Like when you see it start to come into play, you're like, ooh, this is pretty interesting. But then you think about it for like a minute, and you're like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. This is like completely inconsistent with how this killer was presented earlier throughout the rest of the film. It's like, nah, I'm calling BS on that one. Nope, it doesn't work. So, yeah. Regardless of all these negatives, though, there is some entertainment to be had in this. But you got to go in with the right mindset. There are quite a few suspenseful scenes, believe it or not. There's some like claustrophobic apartment suspense scenes, scenes in some parking garage complexes. And the concept of the film, hide and seek, is that someone could be in your house and you don't know it. Like, that's the concept. And maybe they're in your house and they don't do anything to you. Maybe they just don't. Or maybe another time they just finish you off, right? While you're sleeping or something. Like, it's pretty creepy. So I like the premise of the film. And there's other things that come up that I won't talk about. But I liked a very creepy kind of concept to revolve a film around. So it works that way. There's also a certain element of intimidation by this killer, because it's almost like they don't show themselves to you, and then eventually they do. And when they do, it's not like it's like they want you to know that you're going to die, but they don't say anything. So they'll be in like full biker gear with like a black helmet. That's the killer. It's kind of like there was an old school Italian giallo film. Was it Strip Nude for Your Killer who had that? I think it might have been that one. But there was an old Italian giallo film with like the biker type outfit with the killer. And this is kind of similar to that. So I kind of like that aspect. And you'll, like the potential victim will see this biker just like standing there looking at them, you know, and they just kind of stalk them on their way home, you know, because so you know something's coming. So I kind of like that aspect to it. There's an intimidation factor. There's a few pretty good dream sequences, I think, a few good misdirects here and there, a good fight to the death at one, multiple good fights to the death. And the final series of confrontations, even though they really stretch credibility, they last a while. Like the finale's like 20 minutes or something. So it does have an entertaining aspect to it if you can handle the stupefying moments. I do think pacing slows down a little bit in the middle, though. They probably could have trimmed a little bit of the runtime down. If you're a fan of Train to Busan, you'll be happy to see the little girl actress from that in this film. She's way more annoying in this than in Train to Busan. She was kind of endearing in Train to Busan. In this movie, she's just kind of annoying, kind of rude. Actually, both kids are freaking annoying in this movie, which is probably the most realistic aspect of the film. But, in addition, that's another problem, is that none of the protagonists are likable. You know, the mother's just totally just... like irresponsible, just leaving her kids alone all the time. And the father does some stuff in this that you don't like him, you don't like the kids, so you don't like any of the main characters. So again, you have to have a certain type of mentality watching this where like you're just in it for like the shallow thrills and that type of stuff. So what's the final verdict on this? It seems like I could go either way, but I do think there is enough entertainment value in this to be enjoyable if you go in with the right mindset. If you like the concept, and if you don't mind a lot of really dodgy script writing. So if you're okay, you know, if that sounds up your alley, I recommend it. Especially if you're a fan of Korean thrillers. It is available for free on Tubi as well as physical media. And as always, I will see you next time.